This moves us on to ID 2020, Bill Gates, Microsoft, World Domination Tour, Mark of the Beast Tech, everything about you is about to be digitized, and here's the proof. Okay, so Microsoft, the ID 2020 Alliance, Universal Digital Identification, and you. Last year, Microsoft joined ID 2020, a global alliance whose goal is to create universal digital identities for everyone. And this is from windowscentral.com. Our digital identity increasingly parallels our real-world activity, participation in the modern economy. That sounds so sweet. The ability to buy and sell, attain employment, healthcare, and social services, and more are virtually impossible without a digital identity. In May of 2016, at the United Nations headquarters in New York, ID 2020, an alliance of governments, nonprofits, academia, and over 150 private sector companies and 11 United Nations agencies collaborated on how to provide a unique digital identity to everyone on the planet. Let that sink in. It also creates a rallying point that this open alliance hopes other entities will, like Microsoft, embrace and become a part of this global effort. The fundamental mission of creating a universal identification system that incorporates every person on the globe using modern technology and the support of various governments, financial institutions, and more is the goal hidden behind the humanitarian cause. They're putting in behind the cause or the goal of, helping those out in the middle of Africa get an ID so they can get a bank account. But the real goal, right, is to get a universal identification for everyone on the entire planet under the umbrella of the UN. According to the Alliance governance material, by 2030, that's your date, guys, 2030, it aims to have facilitated the scaling of a safe, verifiable, persistent digital identity system. Consistent with the Sustainable Development Goals agreed upon by the United Nations. 2030. Remember that. The long-term vision revolves around the Alliance Case for Action, which states, a convergence of trends provides an unprecedented opportunity to make a coordinated, concerted push towards the goal of universal digital identity, kind of like the COVID crisis bringing the world to its knees. Those trends include political accord among United Nations members, growing global connectivity, emerging technologies, and global call for a new model of identity. Very nice. 2030. So let's recap what their story is here. Political unity. In 2015, that's your nation too, all United Nations countries made a global commitment to provide legal identity for everyone by 2030. Here in America, they like to call it the Real ID Act. Global connectivity. Smart devices, your cell phones, proliferations allow new registration methods and enables consistent interaction with identity data. There's your phone again. Emerging technologies. Blockchain technologies, which will be your master pretty soon, like that used with Bitcoin and into which Microsoft has invested to create a decentralized ID, DID, make secure and verifiable tech accessible to the masses. This is so important. We're gonna talk more about this when we get to the end. So Microsoft, in a recent announcement regarding using blockchain technology for decentralized identification, further articulated its support of this initiative, stating, and I quote, each of us needs a digital identity we own, one which securely and privately stores all, we'll get to that part, elements of our digital identity. Man, sounds so nice. I'm getting the warm fuzzies. Let's go to the next one. In its announcement confirming its position as a founding member of the ID 2020, that would be Microsoft, Mr. Bill Gates, Mark of the Beast Technology, thank you, Alliance, Microsoft shared that developers and alliance partners would be collaborating on a blockchain-based open source identity system. This system would allow interoperability of people, apps, products, and services across the cloud providers, other blockchains, and organizations. Microsoft's goal is to help establish universal, that's worldwide, and scalable standards for these decentralized digital identities using blockchain's technologies. This universal means it goes across all platforms and it will be worldwide. So Mobile technology is becoming increasingly important. There's your cell phones again. Please remember that. As a tool for proof of identity in various transaction scenarios, including buying and selling merchandise, buy, sell, Mark of the Beast, online or in person, using mass transit, opening hotel room doors, participating in amusement parks, and much more. Our smartphones are currently the primary portal, intricately interweaving our digital identities with our physical world. All right. This onboarding of even the disenfranchised onto the digital landscape is a paramount to the ID2020 Alliance goal to provide a universally accepted identification system for everyone on the planet. It is important to note that this identification system's object is to create the foundation to unify the world's citizens. Hold on, let's read that again. Objective is to create the foundation to unify the world's citizens. To create the foundation to unify the world's citizens' participation in a global community and universal digital economy. Secure and verifiable identity, as with any digital transaction, foundational to this vision. Ain't that sweet? The Alliance stresses that digital identity is the cornerstone of international development and believes a digital identity should be with a person from when? From birth to death. If the lack of a digital identity under the current paradigm limits participation in the modern economy, the lack of the same under a singular, globally recognized system would prevent participation entirely. So basically, you're either in or you're out. If the Alliance's goal is a globally recognized digital identity for everyone from birth to death, will that become a global mandate? How will it be enforced, and by whom? What happens to those individuals who are unwilling to participate? Will they be persecuted? And how will the implementation of identification evolve with technology beyond the smartphones? Will wearables, implants like those being used in the Swedish subway, or some form of digital tattoos become the norm? This right here, folks, is what you need to pay attention to. We just talked about a tattoo, right? Wearables. Your phone's a wearable. So anyways, let's look at this. The patch can be customized to imprint different patterns that correspond to the type of vaccines delivered, tests using human subjects stuff. So right here, this patch can be customized to imprint different patterns, right? So it kind of goes back to this, your ID 2020 mandate. Seems like we already got this covered. Ultimately, we believe that the invisible on-body, like we just talked about, implantable wearable technology now opens up new avenues for decentralized data storage, like your ID 2020 ID, your global universal ID, and biosensing applications. Man, that's going to be so important here in a minute. That could influence the way medical care is provided. So there you go. Isn't that sweet? So you've been waiting for the Mark of the Beast part, right? Well, here it is. Bill Gates' Mark of the Beast tech. Thank you, Bill Gates. As more and more transactions become digital in nature and are built around a single global identification standard supported by Microsoft. Well, hold on. Supported by Microsoft. One more time. Thank you, Bill Gates. Supported by Microsoft. The question of who will govern this evolving global community and economy becomes relevant, especially since non-participation in this system would be unable to buy or sell goods or services. Supported by Microsoft, failure to participate, you will not be able to buy, sell goods and services. Let's take a look. Revelations 13:16. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or on their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Especially since non-participants in the system would be unable to buy or sell goods or services. You will not be able to buy, sell, or trade without the mark. If we only had a mark, that'd be awesome. If we only had something to give people that, like, you know, wouldn't be too intrusive, that would be invisible, but still could be scanned. You know, I wonder if Microsoft would come up with something. What? The quantum dot tattoo. What was I thinking? Oh, there we are. Mark of the Beast tech. Thank you, Bill Gates. So naturally, I thought to myself, is that true? Did the United Nations really produce something like ID 2020? Is that a conspiracy theory? So I went to un.org and found this ID 2020 Summit 2016. Right? And so what we have over here is on Friday the 20th, May 2016, ID 2020, a strategic global initiative launched in response to the Sustainable Development Goal 16.9. If you want to see something interesting, look up Revelation 16.9. Provide legal identity to all, including birth registration by 2030. Hey, there's our 2030 date again. Mark of the Beast, Bill Gates. Thank you. In collaboration with the United Nations Office of Partnership, hosted the ID 2020 Summit, Harnessing Digital Identity for the Global Community. It sounds so inclusive. At the United Nations headquarters in New York. So there you go. It is true. UN.org, ID 2020 did happen. It is a thing. And so we continue on. So my next stop was, is Microsoft really involved with ID2020.org? You know, conspiracy? I don't know. Let's find out. ID2020.org Alliance. Down here we got Microsoft, Gavi, Accenture. And we got this quote from the executive VP. So let's zoom in on that. And it says, closing the identity gap is an enormous challenge. It will take the work of many committed people and organizations coming together across different geographies, sectors, and technologies. But it's exciting to imagine a world where safe and secure digital identities are possible, providing everyone with an essential building block to every right and opportunity they deserve. So the question there is obviously, yes, Microsoft's part of ID 2020. But the real question here is, who gets to determine what right and opportunity you deserve? And if those rights are given to you by an organization, can they be taken from you? So in America, we're endowed by our creator by certain unalienable rights, right? And that's why we have a Declaration of Independence and a Constitution. But here in a global environment, where we're part of a global community, things are going to change. So we go to their alliance page, we zoom in, we got Accenture, Gavi, Rockefeller Foundation, who provided seed funding in 2017. We got Microsoft over here. The American multinational technology company joined ID 2020 in January 2018 as a founding partner. Members of the Microsoft team sit on ID 2020's technical and program delivery advisory committees. So yes, the UN is involved. Microsoft is definitely involved. Bill Gates, Mark of the Beast Technology. Here we are at CNET. And CNET's a reputable website and, you know, is a good source for a lot of information. But on their article here, it says UN wants a universal digital ID for your data. Well, let's see what that has to do. What data are they going to be collecting? Tech leaders and humanitarians speak at ID 2020 Summit at the United Nations headquarters. Here we go. At the summit, tech companies like Microsoft and Accenture and humanitarian groups, including the World Food Program and the UN Refugee Agency, want to create a digital identification for every person on the planet, one that's tied to their fingerprints, birth date, medical records, education, travel, bank accounts, and more. There's the all proverbial more. So more. Now we know from what we just previously read, they want this to be from birth, right? So it's everything about you. You get a speeding ticket, what you spend your money on, everything about you, right? It's a lofty goal, but a universal digital ID could ease the headache of travel and potentially ensure that you have access to it, since you could pull it up via a phone app. Man, there's our phones again. How very convenient. On our phone app. So they want fingerprints, birth date, medical records, education, history, travel, bank accounts, and much, much more. It's the much more that we should really be concerned about. What's it say? Accenture demonstrated a working prototype that would provide a person's information through an app, phones. In the absence of a personal device, that person could still be recognized through fingerprints or iris scans, as long as that information was in a database. And well, since they'll be giving it to you from birth, it will be in a database. During the demonstration, David Tree, a managing director at the Accenture, said that the prototype took 3 weeks to develop and that it hoped it would be used at borders to show identification through what? QR codes. That is very interesting. QR codes. Let's take a look. They are also working on expanding the amount of data that can be encoded in a single pattern. Now, this is from Gen Engine News, right? That's what we read earlier. They're also working on expanding the amount of data that can be encoded in a single pattern, allowing them to include information such as the date of vaccine administration and the lot number of the vaccine batch. It's this part, expanding the amount of data that can be encoded into a single pattern. Now, we just read here, they want to put it on a QR code, right? In case you don't have a phone. Well, here we go. Here's the QD tattoo that I showed you at the very beginning, quantum dot tattoo. Here is a QR code. They're trying to expand the amount of data that can be put into a QD tattoo. That's all these little dots, right? They want these dots to look like these dots, because this right here is a QR code that goes to my website. Scan it with your phone. It'll take you there. Right here, these dots need to be in more numerous, okay? They need to look like this when they have like a 15 by 15 pattern, 25 by 25, 30 by 30. And sky's the limit. I see them huge, 150 by 150. But the more dots you have here, the more information that can be stored. So their goal is to make this QD dot tattoo look like this QR code. When this QD dot tattoo looks like this QR code, a mission accomplished. Here we read from WindowsCentral.com earlier, will wearables, implants like those being used in Swedish subways, or some form of digital tattoo become the norm? You mean this thing that looks like this thing? That's connected to your ID from birth? Your ID2020? Microsoft, Bill Gates, Mark of the Beast technology? Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to be. Right here. Is this happening anywhere? Back to CNET. In 2009, India launched a digital program in which citizens voluntarily enroll name, birth date, gender, address, phone numbers, email, 10 fingerprints, 2 eye scans, and a photo. In exchange, they can use the digital ID to sign documents online, apply for credit and jobs, and go to hospitals and exchange money, among other features. So yeah, the technology is being used right now. And what did we really read earlier from WindowsCentral.com? As more and more transactions become digital in nature and are built around a single global identification standard, QR code, quantum dot tattoo technology supported by Microsoft, the question of who will govern this evolving global community and economy becomes relevant, especially since non-participations in this system would be unable to buy or sell goods or services, right? So unless you have in the future one of these connected to your ID 2020 digital ID that looks like one of these implanted on your skin that you can use your phone to get the information to get scanned, you're going to be left out of the system.